1.5 million people who can't afford their monthly insulin in the U.S. today. We're there to like provide them with insulin and make sure that they have the medications they need so they can go and live their lives. Diabetes is already hard enough as it is. You don't need the financial burden of it to be weighing people down.
So Eric, thank you so much again for participating in the Thoughtful interview. I'm really excited for this conversation. We recently met. I was mentioning that a little earlier, and your willingness to immediately participate and share some of your gems with my audience, I'm forever grateful, right? You're CEO in the nonprofit world, Project Insulin. But before I go into telling folks who you are, I would like for you to introduce yourself and tell folks who you are.
Yeah, so I'm Eric Moyal. I'm the founder and executive director, we don't do CEO, of Project Insulin. We're a nonprofit making our own generic insulin that we're going to sell directly to patients at cost, regardless of insurance status. So it's going to be one low price, no matter you have the fanciest insurance, you don't have insurance, you're on Medicare, Medicaid, flat one price. That's what I'm up to.
So I've already learned something new, right? CEO and executive director.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. So let's start off with your why, right? Because that's a very important question. Why did you start your business? And specifically, why did you get into the industry that you're in?
Yeah, I mean, if you'd asked me 4 years ago, I would have, like, if you told me that I am now doing this 4 years ago, I would have never guessed. Like, I went into college trying to do sports management, sports marketing. I worked for the Patriots and Major League Lacrosse and a basketball team. Like, I did all this sports marketing stuff in college. Then I ended up fundraising at a university, and right when COVID started, or I guess no, a year into COVID, I was like, I wanted to change, and I had already been doing some healthcare fundraising. I've been raising money and awareness for a rare illness that my sister has. I've been connected to chronic illnesses and passionate about healthcare for a while. And as I said, I started in sports marketing, but I ended up in fundraising. So I wanted to do something in the nonprofit space because fundraising was kind of the, skill I had learned. It might not have been what I learned in school, but it's what I ended up doing as a career. And so I was looking for an opportunity to do both of those things. So I was looking to do healthcare, to do something in chronic illnesses, but through the lens of fundraising. And I was looking for jobs. I found a few that I really liked, but they didn't take me. So it's like if they had, this would have never happened. So who knows?
Blessing in disguise.
Yeah. So then I met my partner. She has type 1 diabetes. I learned about diabetes and insulin and how expensive it is. And I asked or she told me that she's been using the same insulin for 15, 16 years, something like that. And I was like, I knew that patents only last 20-ish years. So I was like, wait a second, you've been using this for almost 20 years, but how long has this drug been around for? And I was like, well, it's been around since 1996. And I was doing the math. I was like, oh, that's more than 20 years. So I was like, okay, so if I can raise enough money, we can just hire people and then they can make a generic for us, right? And so it's like, oh, wait, that's my skill, fundraising. And then I get to run a healthcare organization without actually needing to do the science myself. So of course, after that, it was about a year of prep time, doing the research, learning what the insulin market looks like. Why does it look like the way it does? Why has no one made a generic insulin? Can you make one as a nonprofit? What is the pathway? All that stuff. Patents expired. There's an expedited pathway to go through FDA to create a generic insulin. It's going to cost a lot of money, but if you can raise the money, there is a path. And so that was kind of when I was like, okay, this might have let's start working on it.
So it's amazing how almost your skill set turned into a passion that impacts your immediate circle. And that's why you transitioned over. And I know the reason why I frame it like that is because I know a lot of families, parents that have, my mother, for instance, has diabetes as well. So I know it's a big problem that you're trying to solve. But just to like dumb it down even a little bit for me, right? Because I still don't understand the big problem. I know there's a big problem with pharmacy and stuff like that, but illustrate to us more or less like the problem that you're solving. Because I know it's reducing costs, which is very important. But this way you can also educate us a little bit of the industry.
Yeah. I wish I had like the magic wand from Disney so I could like draw it out for you. But
we'll have our editors do that.
Yeah. So if you guys don't mind, yeah. So it's a pricing problem. It's not like the drug only costs between $3 and $10 to make. So the companies that are selling insulin, they're selling it for profit. They're for-profit companies. They have to maximize profits for their shareholders because that's the agreement they got into, right? Like when you invest or you put money into a stock, you assume that that company is going to try to make as much money as possible so that you in return make as much money as possible.
So I'm sorry, there's no shortage of supplies where you're
it's not. I mean, in some places there is. It's not here. In the U.S., the problem isn't like a supply shortage. And so we start there, like with the fact that these are for-profit companies. The R&D is really expensive to make these drugs for the first time and all that stuff, but that's why you get that 20-year patent time, right? Generally, generic drugs, once they get off patent, they decrease in price between 50 to 80% on average. Insulin, despite coming off patent, hasn't got anywhere near that as far as like a price decrease goes, which is just a really interesting case as to why. And so part of it is because the generic companies are having a hard time gaining market share in the U.S. It's just a hard process. If you're an Indian or a Chinese company trying to bring a drug into the U.S., you have to go under the stricter FDA regulatory process. And then there's only 3 companies that really, they own the market. There's 3 companies and they own 90% of the world market. Like just think about how much that is. Like 90% of people who take insulin take it from one of these 3 companies.
That's insane.
Yeah, it's just like a dumbfounding number.
Yeah.
But this is all stuff I've learned more recently. But the reason we like tackle this problem is because the distribution process didn't make any sense. You have the manufacturers who make the insulin, and then they have wholesalers and pharmacy benefit managers and insurance companies and then healthcare systems who are all part of the distribution process before it gets to patients. And so each of these players make money, right? Like they're all for-profit companies, they're all trying to make money. And so all the added steps and all the added costs is all pushed down onto patients. That being said, it's been seen that about 60% of profit still goes to the manufacturer. So, you know, the big piece is them. But again, there's another 40% that is all these other players. And so our goal is to cut them all out, essentially. We're going to be the manufacturer. And as a nonprofit, we don't have to abide by the same rules that they play by, right? We don't have to maximize profit. We maximize efficiency because the more efficient our organization is, the cheaper we can make the insulin. But our goal isn't to maximize the amount of money we make. And so if we can partner with some organizations, some key partnerships for distribution, think of like federal healthcare clinics, organizations where they're helping the populations who need insulin the most, who can't afford their insulin, who don't have access to it, can't afford as much as they need, etc. If we can make those partnerships work, then we are both an access and an equity company. Like we're creating a cheap but accessible product, right? You don't need to just go to our website, right? We're going to be in places where we're meeting you where you are is the hope. And the goal. So yeah, really, it's more of a distribution problem. That's kind of where we started. And then we've just learned all these other things about the U.S. healthcare system.
It sounds like you're a threat to a lot of players in a very good way. And you were mentioning a lot about partners. And you also said something very interesting, something that I didn't know, that insulin, the products come from 3 companies. And I think about media, for instance, right? That's really owned by like 6 major networking companies, and obviously they control the narratives, and that's how that stuff happens. And so going back to what I said, it sounds like you're becoming a threat to a lot of players. how have you been like received, right?
Yeah.
Are people like super, this is exciting for me again,
Right.
right? And for folks who have families who were impacted or who are impacted by this, right? But what about like other businesses or maybe the pharmacy world?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. A lot of people have been asking it more recently because we're getting closer to actually starting drug development. It's been 3 years of preparation, and now we have all these proposals, and we're just trying to raise money. But we'll get to that piece of this later. But yeah, people have started asking more like, "Are you afraid that someone's going to come after you?" And honestly, I think that the companies making insulin are kind of moving towards GLP-1 drugs, which are like the Ozempics. And so they're weight loss drugs specifically for type 2 diabetes. And those are the kind of the new money makers. That drug, profile has become the new money maker of drugs. And so, yeah, like, are we going to cut into these companies' bottom lines? Sure. Is it going to be as much as, people think? Probably not. I mean, for one, 15% of people who take insulin can't afford their monthly supply. So it's not like they're buying as much insulin as they need, right? So now if we come in and, so let's say, for example, you're one of the big manufacturers and you're selling insulin to the 15% of the population who can't afford their monthly supply. Let's say they need 3 to 4 vials, but they're only buying 2 from you. If they transfer over to us, if they convert, it's not like we're taking 4 vials of insulin away from you. We're only,
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's like we're going to be the safety net to start. The goal is to help the people, the 1.3, 1.5 million people who can't afford their monthly insulin in the U.S. today. We're there to like provide them with insulin and make sure that they have the medications they need so they can go and live their lives. Diabetes is already hard enough as it is. You don't need the financial burden of it to be weighing people down. No.
And this is going to be just like a slightly off topic.
Yeah,
but
sure.
I watched your TED Talk.
Yeah.
All right.
Big pivot.
Big pivot. I watched your TED Talk, and you were talking about a bike trip that you took to raise awareness for your sister.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that, because it seems like that also impacted your role.
Yeah, totally. So in that talk, I talk about allyship because the talk is really like weaving the story of me doing that bike ride from Boston to Miami to raise money for my sister's illness, which is complex regional pain syndrome, or CRPS. And weaving the story of like getting to that point where I'm able to raise money and build awareness for her illness, but all the time before that is like creating that relationship from scratch. I mean, we were basically best friends. Like we played basketball together. We would do all these different sports together, and we played video games all the time. Like when we were home, we were together most of the time. And unfortunately, she got hit by a car while she was biking. And after that, there was like this 2.5-year period where like she was a different person, but we didn't know why. Like we had no idea what was going on. So, our relationship was strained. And then over time, I learned to be more comfortable around her and be like, yeah, like, you're still my sister. Like, let's talk. Like, I want to understand what you're going through. I will never be able to truly understand it. And I like, the immense pain that she has all the time and all that stuff. But at least let me understand what the illness is and like, what are ways that I can make your life a little bit easier. And, at that point, it kind of felt like our relationship thawed a little bit. And like, I had a better perspective of what she's going through. And I could see, I mean, I couldn't see through her lens, of course, but I could at least like peek into the world that she lived in, right? Like I understood that like her world is just different than mine now. And yeah, so I do think that like understanding, that ability to like go in and learn about a new world, like with diabetes, I didn't know anything about it. My grandpa had type 2 diabetes when I was a kid. And I remember like him taking insulin shots and they were discussing amputating his leg but he got sick and passed of something else shortly after. So it wasn't like it was kind of like a blip in my life. There was like a 6-month period, and then like that was kind of it for my interaction with diabetes. So yeah, I think like having that experience with my sister, learning about her illness, kind of engaging with the community of people that have CRPS, really helped me because I kind of just did the same thing with diabetes. I learned about the community, learned about the different stigmas associated with diabetes, and like a lot of people think it's just like a weight problem. Like if you just stop eating poorly, you'll be okay. And it's like, no, like a lot of it is genetic, a lot of it is stress. Type 1 is like, we have no idea why it happens. It just kind of does. So yeah, like I learned so much about the field, and I still, it's not like imposter syndrome, like being in the space, but I am still wary. It's not like, I don't feel like I'm like in the community. Like I said, like I feel like I can see the world now. Like I can see that world. Yeah, it's not necessarily that I'm like a part of it, but I'm like an adjacent.
And sometimes I think it takes just us being close enough or experiencing some things for a perception shift, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes that's all. That's just all that it is.
Yeah.
But I wanted to go back to that story because it's very instrumental in how it developed your perception to go into like this industry based on what I understand, right? So I think it's awesome how like our narratives, because you had a pretty successful career before you went full executive director, right? So I want to bring it back to the idea or the conversation of the partners and how they've been receiving you. How can people, I know we could donate, but how else can people get involved with bringing up awarenesses, right? For what you just mentioned with your sister and also with diabetes. How can people get involved with elevating awareness, donating? What can they do to also collaborate and help facilitate this change?
Yeah, I think so. You're asking a couple questions. So I'll start with the my sister's illness piece because I think that is the more widespread lesson, I guess. The goal of the TEDx talk wasn't about like just my sister's illness. It's a rare chronic illness. Not a lot of people have it. The goal was to show you how to be a better ally for someone with a chronic illness at large, right? And so, I mean, I think it's like 1 in 3 people have some form of a chronic illness in the U.S. And so, like, from the broadest standpoint, take a listen to the talk. It'll be, I don't know how good it is. I wrote it. I kind of, I poured my heart into it. But I do think it has some really nice points about how to be an ally to someone with a chronic illness. And so I think that's one. Like if there's someone with a chronic illness in your life, I would go just watch it. I mean, you could probably watch the second half and get most of the things you need if you're tight on time. But when it comes to Project Insulin specifically, I think there's a few ways to get involved. Like you said, there's donating, following us on socials, just to see what we're doing, hear the stories of people from the diabetes community. So we're starting our own podcast where we interview people who are either in our community, so the Project Insulin community, or a part of the larger diabetes community, just to like tell stories of what it's like for someone who does have to ration insulin. I mean, it's like a scary thing, you need a drug to live, and you have to like cut down the amount of it you take so that it lasts for the entire month. That is something that there's no way I can tell you what that feels like. And there's no way that like I can properly explain, how scary that is. So our goal is to kind of show to people the good, the bad, and everything in between of living with diabetes and the unfortunate reality that is people have to ration, and they kind of lean on one another. There's I see it all the time, like on Instagram stories. It's like I don't have. I ran out of insulin for the month. If anyone lives in insert area here, please, like, let me know. And sure enough, like 24 hours later, the next story is, thank you so much to the diabetes community. Like, I was able to get enough insulin. I am all set until next month, right? And so it's just like, I can't explain the emotional part. Like, I can tell you that story, but I can't explain the emotions that go into it. So yeah, our social media is hopefully going to help you learn more about both what we're doing, why it's important, but also kind of get you a little peek inside that world, inside the world of what it's like for people who live with diabetes every day. We're always looking for volunteers. So the way I talk about volunteering with Project Insulin is, I don't want you to just do something I need. I want to find something that you love doing and see if that's something we could use.
Alignment, yeah.
Yeah, an alignment, right? Because money is important, but the most valuable thing in the world is time. And you're offering to give me some of that time, like, that's amazing. Like, to me, that's like crazy. So if people are able to give me their time, I want to make sure that they're getting a good experience out of working with us. So yeah, you have options to volunteer, and then of course raising money. We can't do it without raising money. At the very beginning, you asked me why I'm doing this. It's because I think that this is a task that if we raise enough money, we can make an affordable insulin, and so we just need money. So if you're interested, you can donate, you can volunteer, you can check out our socials. It's all on projectinsulin.org. That's our website. And then if you're looking for us on socials, it's Project Insulin, either with a underscore or a space.
Yeah. Is the can you tell us what the goal is, or is that private?
So for the year, our goal is to raise $400,000, and that will get us through 1 year of drug development. So that'll like create the insulin, do some of the early tests, make sure that it's not toxic, make sure that, you know, if you shake it, it doesn't affect the actual drug on the inside of the vial. And yeah, that's kind of 1 year of drug development. And the overarching goal is we're going to need about $20 million to take it from zero, so from today, from scratch, to a FDA-approved insulin. Yeah, and we're just really excited about the prospects. I think, you know, I am confident. I think this is possible, but I mean, yeah, there's a pretty high likelihood it doesn't happen, right? Like $20 million is a lot of money to raise, and you know, the window will only last. I can only do this without a salary for so long,
of course,
right? So like the window to get it done isn't, you know, forever, right? I can't just like take 20 years to figure this out.
But you raised $2 million, so
I've helped raise $2 million.
That's 10%. Let's go.
Yeah, but that's not for Project Insulin. That was for Brandeis. That was for my old employer.
Oh, that's for the
that's not a Project Insulin thing. And that was like, you know, I left Brandeis being really confident about raising money because, you know, I felt that I was good at it, and I think that is still true. But you know, I was raising money under like an institution. You know, they have a marketing department. They have 60,000 alumni that they go and ask for money. You know, they have a grant writing department. They have like all of these different, the infrastructure is already there. I came and started Project Insulin. I was like, yeah, I just, you know, I'll just go ask a couple people and they'll just give me a few $1 million each and we'll be good. 3 years later, it's just hard to build out that infrastructure. I think like if I had a list and I knew that 20% of them were going to give me money, no problem. Like it would have been fine. But I had to build the list, right? Like I'm still trying to build those relationships and find the right people who are passionate about this. Like, you know, people give to a variety of different things, right? It's like things that they care about, things that they're passionate about. But to like usurp one of those positions, like people give to 1 to 3 different places. I am now trying to like take you from one of those places and like, you know, rip the plywood off and like stick us on, you know? And so that's hard. That's very hard, especially if there's no prior relationship. Like with a college, it's like you spent 4 years there, right? There's like kind of like, those are like magical years for a lot of people. So it's a little easier. But yeah, I mean, the reception I've received, people love what we're doing. I think a lot of people really resonate with what we're trying to do and the work we're trying to accomplish. But yeah, raising money is going to be hard.
And you're definitely going to be able to do that. I mean, you already got the proof of concept. Maybe you didn't have all that department and stuff set up.
Yeah.
But you got the proof of concept. You know the skill set is there. So we're rooting for that, definitely. And let's tell folks why this work is important. And I want to start off with my own personal story, right? When you mentioned, I think you mentioned it was your uncle, or excuse me, your grandfather,
yeah,
who
my grandfather.
almost had to get amputated.
Yeah.
That's the story of my mom, right? Because of her diabetes, she was gonna get some of her fingers from her toes cut off, right? Because blood wasn't circulating. So it's very important that folks, one, can afford insulin, right? And it's very important that folks get in a timely manner, because even if you get it after a threshold, you know what I mean? The impacts are still there. You're still damaged. And I think maybe you could tell us more about that impact. I know you've seen different impacts of people who haven't got it. Tell us a little, you mentioned a little bit about that, but tell us more about that.
Yeah, I think like I came to this in a very linear fashion. My partner has diabetes. She uses insulin, learned it's expensive. Was like, great, let's make insulin cheaper. People can afford insulin. They'll live better lives. That was like the very simple version, like the original idea. And then I did some research, and like the cost of diabetes in the US is unbelievable. I mean, I think it's 1 in 4 healthcare dollars is spent on diabetes.
Wow, that's a lot.
On insulin alone, it's $14 billion a year that we spend on insulin. Just on insulin. Like, forget test strips or other diabetes-related drugs or the monitors or the pumps or like any of that stuff. Just on the liquid.
Wow. Okay.
The liquid is the 6th most insulin is the 6th most expensive liquid on Earth. That's crazy. This is a drug people need to live every day, right? Like, the first time I did a pitch, how I did it was I said, raise your hand if you drink water. Quick pause. Everyone raises their hand. I say, well, of course you do. If you didn't, you would get sick and die in a matter of days. Well, for people with insulin-dependent diabetes, insulin is like water.
Okay.
And like that is how it felt. Like that was the connection for me. It was like like that is how important it is. And so when you ask about impact, like, you know, it's not just about like insulin will help people. It's the complications that happen because of diabetes, amputations, renal failure, different heart problems, all these different things. That's why 1 in 4 healthcare dollars is spent on diabetes. So if now you take out one of the variables that lead to all those extra expenses, then, you know, we're going to have less of those complications over time. And that's just from like, you know, a figures perspective, right? That's just like, if people have the medication they need, they're less likely to have complications in the future. Let's talk about like people's opportunity for growth. You're not worried about like your insulin lasting you the month. You're not worried about not getting insulin next month. You're no longer worried that you need to stay at a job because your employer health insurance covers insulin, but you want this new job that you would get paid more, but unfortunately they might not cover your insulin. Right? Like that is a problem. You're no longer spending $300 per vial, right? You're spending $60 for 3 vials, right? Where we want to charge $10 to $20. Without insurance today, it costs about $300. Think about how much you can do with that extra money. That money can go to eating healthier, trying out hobbies, you know, buying a house. Like, I mean, you can't buy a house with $200 or $300 per month, but over time, like, you know, your kids might be able to, right? Like like you can accrue some wealth. You can like create a cushion. The stress in your life can alleviate a little bit. I'm not saying like we're solving all the world's problem by making insulin affordable, but it's a step, right? Like it's a big step in the right direction. And There's economic gain to be had from a community level, from a state level, from a country level, whatever. There's the benefit to like individuals, like yeah, the drug itself, but also like their livelihood, like their lives, the quality of their lives can go up because this is one less thing they have to worry about. That's the stuff that's kind of like, I don't know, like I'm getting jazzed up, you know, like that's the juice, you know, like at first it was like insulin, healthcare, fundraising, perfect. Now it's like, think about how many lives we can impact, how many people, you know, we're not saving any, like I'm not like a savior or anything, right? Like I'm here to like provide a tool for people to live better lives, right? Like their stories get to be better because, you know, we introduced this tool. Yeah.
And I think, again, everything that you just highlighted, super important. And I've learned, I mean, I didn't even know that this could just be my ignorance because I don't know the industry, obviously. I didn't even know that certain insurances can opt in and out to pay for insulin for folks with diabetes. And, you know, it makes me think about what is like the bigger picture, right? Like when I say that is, what is the industry like right now? Like maybe what is government doing, if government is doing anything to kind of like mitigate some of these issues? Obviously, you know, you called yourself, you're not a savior, you're not saving anybody, but it's a big problem that you're solving, right? So in addition to you, what is like the industry doing overall? Is anybody getting involved? Is anybody like, you know, pulling the horn and telling folks like, listen, this is wrong?
Yeah, so there's another nonprofit who's doing something pretty similar. It's called Civica RX. They're in the mountain states. I don't know what to call them, like the Colorado, Utah. Like I know it's like
states,
yeah, whatever.
I think people get it.
Yeah. Anyway, they're over there. They're the company that's partnering with California so that California can make its own insulin and take care of the California population. They were kind of the place where we took our business model. Not necessarily the, you know, cheapest possible insulin, whatever, but the like the distribution system being so convoluted. I met with the former CEO, you know, 3 years ago, and was like, hey, like, how is what you're doing? How does it work? And like, why aren't you doing insulin? Because at the time they weren't doing insulin. And he explained it to me, and I was like, okay, great. I'm just going to take that and do insulin. They ended up moving into insulin, but they are partnering with a company in India, and then they'll be the licensed company organization to do it in the U.S.
Okay.
So yeah. So they're over there in the mountain states and in California. From a government perspective, I mean, we have like the government can now negotiate drug prices with companies.
Oh yeah,
that's
a
new.
recent thing,
that's
right?
new,
Yeah,
right? So that's going to help. I don't know exactly how. Like we don't know what's gonna like how it's gonna work. That's a time will tell type of deal. But that's only a specific insulin. So earlier you said you didn't know that insurance companies can choose which insulin.
Yeah, I did not know.
So to clarify, there's many different types of insulin, and one insurance company might have insulin A on their list that you can use. On another insurance company, it might be insulin B. Insulin A and B might technically work the same, but it affects people differently. So, for example, some people might like insulin A better. Like it's not like your favorite chocolate, but it might work better in their bodies. So transferring over to insulin B could mean that the insulin is less effective, which means they need more of it, which means maybe the insurance isn't all that worth it because they're going to end up paying more than they did with that original one. So yeah, there's different types, and there's long acting and there's short acting, and that's like a whole different. We can like spend a whole hour just on that stuff. But yeah, the government's trying. They're doing. They've one of the negotiated drugs is an insulin. I forget it's off the top of my head which one it is, but one of the insulins is now going to be negotiable. We have no idea like
how it's gonna
what that cost savings is going to look like. The insulin manufacturers have created this copay cap system, and keyword is copay cap. It's not a price cap, and so for certain insurance companies, if you have that insurance, your copay will be capped at $35. That
Oh,
doesn't
okay.
mean that the price of insulin is going down. That means that it's being subsidized, right? So it's like the cost is $300, you're paying $35. That, whatever that amount is in between 300 and 35, that is being subsidized by someone.
Okay.
Medicare, Medicaid, the $35 cap, that's being subsidized by the government. Someone is paying that difference. In our world, we're creating an insulin that's going to be $10 to $20. That's our goal. We're going to further subsidize that with donations and grants. And that's something that makes us a little bit different than Civica. I mean, they just have never said they're going to do it. So I don't know if they're not doing it, but they never said they would. Okay. To us, that's like the important part, because that's how we become a sustainable company into the future, is that we know we have this 10 to 20 price range, but then we'll create an endowment, and the endowment will it's kind of like a savings account. Like it safely accrues interest over time. You take that interest, and then we subsidize the price of insulin for our patients with it. As the endowment grows, the more donations and grants we get, the bigger that subsidy is for patients. So like our long-term goal is to make it $0 plus shipping and handling, and that's what you're paying for your insulin. If we do that, and then we partner with the government for Medicare, Medicaid, the VA hospital, whoever it might be, the government goes from paying that difference to only paying whatever we charge them. And then now all that extra money can be used for some other thing that the government needs to pay for. Education, housing, like whatever other problems we're facing in the U.S., they now have a little bit more money to spend on those things. And so that's like, well, not a little bit more. I said it's $14 billion, right? So it's like upwards of $14 billion. To spend on these other pieces. So yeah, that's a little bit about there's the government, there's these copay caps by the manufacturers, and then there's Civica on the other side of the country doing their stuff. Yeah.
Listen, man, to me it sounds like you're moving a mountain. It sounds like you're moving a mountain in the best way possible. What I'm just trying to say is, it's a very challenging thing, right? I think you're going to get it done. You're passionate about it, and your circle depends on it, right? Yeah. My mom depends on it, so now I'm going to as well. But it just sounds like you're doing a lot in a very good way. And your organization's been established for 3 years. Man, what does your daily work life look like? Do you have a work-life balance?
Oh, yeah. So, do I have a work-life balance? I'm getting better at it.
Okay. I feel like that's everybody's response.
Yeah. I mean, let's see. In the beginning, it was all-consuming because I was so excited. I didn't know anything. I got to explore this whole new world. It's like a video game, like an open map video game. Do you play video games?
I do.
Maybe
we can talk about that later.
Yeah.
Figure out which games you play.
Think of like an open map video game where you can kind of just go wherever you want, and everywhere you go, it's this beautiful new world. That's kind of minus the fact that this is a very tragic story. It was that kind of experience. I got to learn all these different things. I got to learn about insurance companies and drug companies and manufacturers and the distribution. I can speak science now. Not at a college level, but I can speak some science. So at first it was this all-consuming, I was just sucked in. And then over time, it kind of became, this is my baby now. And so I have to take care of my baby all the time. And I wouldn't let it go. And I would wouldn't let volunteers or my board or anyone who wanted to help in, because this is mine, right? Kind of like the Lord of the Rings guy, my precious, that was me. I was like, you're not touching this. This is mine. This is for nobody else. Yeah, you're getting a little bit. I'm a pretty big nerd, so you got video games.
I'm just laughing because I'm thinking about that.
Yeah. But yeah, more recently, I think, and the reason why I say it's getting better is I just was in California for 3 weeks on vacation with my partner to see her family and just kind of relax. And I didn't think about Project Insulin at all for 2.5 weeks, and that's the longest break I've had till now. And on top of that, like, since I got back, I've been a lot better at making boundaries. Like, I work on the things I want to get done today, but I don't just like kind of sit there and like amble on and just like kind of like tinker at different things for no reason. It's I've gotten more focused at working on my project, and so I think yes, my work-life balance is getting better. Like tomorrow, I'm going skiing. I took the day off.
Oh, nice.
Like I would have never done that
Man,
a
where
year
you going?
ago. Waterville Valley up in New Hampshire.
Okay.
Oh no. That was supposed to be yesterday. Tomorrow we're going to Western Mass.
Okay, you gotta tell me about that. My girl wants to go skiing.
Yeah. We got the Indy passes,
Okay.
so yeah. Support local. Yeah.
Have to.
But yeah, like we're going skiing tomorrow, so that's like I'm like really proud to say that I've like kind of started creating a work-life balance, and I was trying to explain this to my therapist last week. I was like, I think I went from being a really excited new entrepreneur to like, I'm not a veteran, right? Like, I don't think I've done this long enough to be a veteran entrepreneur, but I've left newbie. I'm no longer a rookie, right? Like, I've kind of like settling in a little bit. Like, I know a little bit of how to be a veteran entrepreneur. Like, I can do some things, and it's a bit less all-encompassing. Like, I am able to kind of create this space for myself as a person to go enjoy an adventure in the world around me. And not just kind of work all the time. Yeah. So work-life balance is getting better, but I mean it. I'm not just saying it.
No, and I think it's funny whenever I ask this question, right, about CEOs and people who are just movers and shakers. It's always just getting better, and I think let me know if you agree with this thought. Yeah. I think the idea of balance is situational. Right? Yeah. Like, I think it just depends on where you are at that point in life. You can find balance, and not necessarily like a balance that's going to be templated, that's going to be, that's how you're going to live your whole life. It's almost like you create the balance while you're in that moment, right? Yeah, and like it changes, right? You know, right now it's January. In nonprofit world, things generally slow down in January because you just spent like 2 months asking everyone and their mother for money because it's the end of the tax season. And so like January, you kind of like pull off, you ease off a little bit. So like, yeah, right now, like I can go skiing on a Tuesday because I have a little bit extra space. Work-life balance in a month and a half when I'm getting ready for our big crowdfunding event is different. Like it'll be like getting a few hours, or like maybe working a bit harder now so that I have that space in the future. That's also work-life balance, right? So, yeah, as you're saying, like it is situational. It changes. Forget like every couple of years. For me, as an entrepreneur, it changes like day to day, week to week, month to month. So, exactly. Yeah. So I think it's just very situational, and I think if you can find your balance where you are, that's your best bet. Unless you're retired, right? Now you have all the time of the world. You can do whatever you want, play all the games you want. Right? But as of right now, it's full of work. So what are some other ways that you relax? You mentioned skiing, right? We know you like biking. Yeah. What are some other hobbies?
Yeah, so I play Dungeons and Dragons.
Okay.
We play like once every 2 to 3 weeks, probably. I play Ultimate Frisbee. I don't really play basketball anymore, but if anyone ever asked me to, I probably would say yes. Like I miss it. I just don't really. I don't have a group anymore. Like there's no like just friends that I have that play. Being from Miami, you could just go to a park on a Tuesday in December, and it's like still sunny. So not having that like access to that has made basketball a little bit like take a side seat at the moment. Read, play video games. Yeah, watch a lot of anime.
Yeah. All right. What kind of, do you play volleyball?
I don't play volleyball.
Okay. Yeah. Would you be interested? I know a league.
A really good league. Would I be interested in a league for volleyball? I don't know. It depends on the dates. I need days, but
we'll come back to that.
We'll come back. Yeah. I wouldn't be against it. I just don't know if I could commit to a league. Like I could come like one off every once in a while.
It's not necessarily a league.
Okay.
It's just a fun thing that that me and a couple friends do, started by a friend of mine. Actually, it's the videographer. He started putting together like games, very fun in the summer. You know, that way you could, not basketball.
Yeah, that's okay.
Not basketball, but okay.
You still have to jump and hit things.
Yeah, right? It's fun to spike. If that's something that you're into. All right. What kind of books do you like to read?
Well, I just finished Harry Potter for the first time.
Okay.
My partner is like a big Harry Potter fan, and she's been like bugging me to read them. So I finally finished them over winter break, and that's kind of what I've been on. But mostly like fantasy, like sci-fi, like other worlds. The Broken Earth trilogy.
Okay.
It's really good. It's by J.K. Nelson or what?
I read a lot of nonfiction.
Okay, you read a lot of nonfiction.
For me, yeah.
Yeah, I want to go into a different world. I want to kind of like
relax.
Relax. Yeah. I want to learn lessons without realizing I'm learning lessons. You know.
So like revelations, kind of like something that's kind of revelatory. Like, oh, that's what in between the lines. Oh, that's
yeah, exactly.
Oh, like, this is how this can apply to.
Exactly, like metaphoric kind of. You know, the Broken Earth trilogy discusses race a lot, and so it's like, yes, we have that too, you know, like, this isn't just in this fake world, no, like, that's what I know where she got this from, you know.
Not enough in the fake world, though, we got to hear
exactly, so it's like, you know, you kind of like go into these worlds, and it's not escaping reality, it's just like, you know.
Just taking a break.
You just take, it's like, I can't afford to go to Cancun, so I go to insert world.
Oh, you can't go to Dubai?
Yeah, I don't got the money for Dubai. Yeah, maybe if everyone starts donating at projectinsulin.org. Yeah,
let's get that money. And I don't know if this could be an anecdotal example, but I heard, I actually read that there was a hotel in Dubai that was giving out like gold iPads. Somebody on this? Yeah, okay. Gold iPads. So I got a regular one right over here.
Yeah.
I don't think it's enough. I need a gold one, so I think I'm gonna go do Dubai soon. All right, so here's another important question.
Yeah, sure.
Elden Ring. Warframe.
No, I haven't played them.
Neo 2.
No.
Wulong.
No. I don't even know. Elden Ring I know, but the other ones I didn't even know of. Yeah.
Okay.
I just got Baldur's Gate.
Okay.
The newest one.
I don't know that.
Okay, so it's basically like if you had Dungeons and Dragons, but you turn it into a video game, and it's like it's open world like Elden Ring, but it's very different.
You
can play with other people, which is cool.
Did you see the movie Dungeons?
Yeah.
What do you think about it?
I thought it was great fan service.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I gotta check it out then.
It was very good for people who like enjoy Dungeons and Dragons. Like, oh yeah, like we do that in our campaign, you know, like.
All right. So the games that I like to play are like Elden Rings, like those kind of, you know, they'll give you a headache when you play them because it's just everything's killing you.
Yeah. I'm not good at video games. No. I just like playing them. So like, I play the baby versions of like, you know, like I bought the Harry Potter game, you know, like that, and it's like that's basically. I mean, it's not. Game. It's not Elden. I mean, it's fine. It's like it's not that hard, but it's like a beautiful open world where you get to explore, like the Zelda games on the Switch. Like I played those. So it's like take it down a level. Like I don't play Dark Souls. No. Okay. Like I played it once, and I like threw the controller. You know, like it was like I just. This is a skill issue, you know, like.
There's so many. I watch the rage videos sometimes where folks are just doing that, and it's hilarious because it is one of those. It cheeses you, man. Yeah. Wow. All right, so that's cool to know. You know, I think
big tangent.
Yeah,
like, totally.
Missing the TV by the end of the night because this boss, you know, been killing you for 3 hours and you don't know what to do about it. But I think it's awesome to know, you know, I elevate these kinds of conversations too because, definitely for your CEO trying to save the world, there's definitely ways that you need to create that mental balance, to create, you know, times for you to like step away. Because I think as a first year entrepreneur, I feel like what you just described is very common, right?
Yeah,
It's very, that's how I was. Like, no, this is my baby.
Yeah,
And then so now that I'm like developing, no, I don't want you to touch it because you may mess it up.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then eventually you kind of like let go and relax. You know?
Yeah, but it's not like you let go and relax because you trust the people that you find, right? Like you find people you trust. So it's not like here, just anybody. Yeah, like
men on Facebook.
Yeah. You just go to Marketplace looking for someone. But yeah, you know, you need those opportunities to relax, and I appreciate you asking, like you know, this kind of segment. It's pretty silly, but it's important that people know we like. I don't just do this all day long, you know. It's like I like, you know, the people who like show you their schedule and like. I do, you know, 5 a.m. I wake up and I go on a 9-mile run, and then like 7 o'clock I read 2 books, and it's like 8 o'clock, and I'm like, hey, like come on, I admire people who can do that, but like I wake up at 9, like I wake up at 9 or 10, and I don't work till the afternoon because I don't like working in the morning. It's just not the time that I work well, and you know. You see these like people on socials or whatever, and you're like, oh, I need to wake up at 5, and like I need to be at the gym, and like I need to like read 7 books a week, and it's like, no, you know, people are like normal people do entrepreneurship too, right? Like, yes, do I work 8 hours? I probably work like 10, 11 hours a day. Is it or I probably work. Let me rephrase. I would probably work like 60 hours a week. But I do it in like 6-7 hour increments. Like I work Saturday and Sunday for like 3 or 4 hours, and it covers if I missed a little bit during the week. And some weeks I'll work 20 hours, and then other weeks I'll work 90. Right? Like I trust. And this is like the kind of like veteran entrepreneurship thing. Like I trust myself to get the work done. And so if today isn't the day, I'm not just gonna like sit in front of a computer and wait till like magic happens and all my work is done. I'm gonna let go and then do the me things so that tomorrow I'm invigorated to go and work again. Yeah. So I think it's like a really important piece. Like you just can't work all the time. Yeah.
And I think the reason why I love to bring these things up, because everything that you just said is very true. A lot of times folks have like this template cookie cutter vision of what it means to be, one, successful, and two, what success even looks like, right? And they think it is like these regimens. It is these career coaches, gurus telling you, wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, when it's like, but you probably don't do that because it's not really, you know, it may be practical for you, but if you're successful, then you know success is different for everybody else.
Right.
Because it's non-linear.
Right.
I also make it a point to elevate these conversations because I remember putting a talent show together for professionals.
Okay, yeah.
Right? And so there's like these people in government, these people in these high positions, and they were on stage. They were on stage singing, dancing, playing their guitars.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
You don't get to see that.
And well, not only that, but because I've known them from the professional world, right? When I saw them in the art world, it was very different. The energy was more vibrant, right? Because it's almost like when you have a job, that's just a role you're playing. It's not your passion. It's not who you really are. It's not what you love. In fact, you're wearing a mask, right?
Yeah.
Depending on where you come from, you're probably code switching, right? So it's really not, it's a version of you.
Right.
But once you're in your art, that's a gift, that's an element, you know what I mean? Something that you're passionate about, then you come alive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So I'm making a thing to definitely do that. So the next time I have a talent show.
I don't know if I have like a talent show talent. Like I think I'm talented at many things, but I don't think any of them are like.
You could just tell us how to fundraise.
Yeah. 20 slides. How to raise money.
You can just tell us how to fundraise. That's awesome. And I know let's go back to the business, and I know you're based here in Rhode Island,
Mm-hmm.
right? Do you see yourself expanding anytime soon, or what's your, without getting too much into detail,
Yeah.
what is that looking like for you?
Yeah, so we're based in Rhode Island, or I live in Rhode Island. The
Mhm.
company's like PO box, so if you like send us mail, is in Cambridge,
Okay.
Mass. But I've kind of built it here. Like Rhode
Mhm.
Island was kind of the space that was the place that gave me space to kind of build in a way that I didn't get when I was in Boston. Unfortunately, the infrastructure for drug development, specifically for a biologic drug like insulin, isn't there yet. They're building the new life sciences hub, like right next door, and that'll be great. But our timeline is faster than that, hopefully.
Yeah.
So there won't be much space for us here once drug development starts. For example, like we got a quote from a company in Norway to do the beginning parts of drug development, and then there's a company in Boston who might be able to do it. So realistically, once drug development starts, that stuff is going to be happening in Boston or around the globe. But yeah, I mean, we're going to be an international company. The goal isn't, people think that a cheap insulin means it's not just cheap, like it's like also like cheaper made, like we're gonna have cut corners or stuff like that, but we're actually going to be spending not a lot more money, but we'll be spending more money to like try to enhance the drug a little bit, make it a little bit better, make sure that it's at par or even better than par for our patients. So yeah, I mean, we're going to be working with companies around the world, but because they are the best at the different pieces of the puzzle that is making insulin. Yeah, but Providence will always be like where this really started. And I mean, I have interns from JWU. I've got high school students who are helping me. I spoke at Central Falls High last week, which was super cool. I've spoken at Davies Tech. And then, I don't remember the name of this one, but some other high school in the area. And yeah, I mean, like, Rhode Island has really shown me love, and it's like a really wonderful place to start a company. Yeah, and hopefully soon it'll be a really great place to start and build a biotech.
Okay. Yeah. And what does Project Insulin have coming up that we can get involved with or support with, maybe in the nearing months, in the nearing weeks?
Yeah, so we are going to be running a crowdfunding campaign, both through GoFundMe and then specifically on Pi Day. So Pi Day is March 14th. PI, our initials, Pi Day. Not everyone gets it, so I like always try to explain
It's
it.
a good one. I like it.
Yeah, thank you. It was like the first thing I thought of once we got the name. Yeah. I was like, we got to make our fundraising day Pi Day. And so we're trying to raise as many pies this year. So as many $3,141.59 as we can. And so we're looking for sponsors. We're looking for people to come join us. I don't actually have the venue down yet, but on Pi Day itself in Providence, we'll be doing a happy hour at a bar. Everyone can come out. We'll be celebrating Pi Day. We'll bring pies. And it's just kind of like an opportunity to build community and make the community that we have a little bit stronger. I'll be there. My board members come to the one in Boston and the one in Providence. And any of the volunteers, anyone who's been a part of it, my mentors who are all Providence-based, they'll be there probably. And it's just like it's just kind of like you walk in and you'll feel warm. It's just like love. Everyone's just there because they support Project Insulin and they support each other. And yeah, it's a fundraising event, but really it's like bolstering the community that we have and the community that we're building. So if you could donate around Pi Day, that'd be fantastic. If you'd like to come out to either of the Boston or the Providence events, even better. And then the only other part of Pi Day that this is new, so I'm really excited about it, is on the 9th of March, so a little bit earlier than the Boston and Providence events. We'll be doing a live stream, and so there's going to be a pie eating contest with a local high school, hopefully. We're gonna do a like how to bake a pie, like a chef will like show you a recipe and all that stuff. And then we have a YouTuber from Boston doing a live stream video game event, and it'll be like 2.5 to 3 hours. It'll be a tournament, probably Mario Kart or something like that, and there'll be raffles and prizes you can win. So that'll be a really fun event. So check us out on socials, on our website, projectinsulin.org. Get more information about all of these things as they're coming up over the next couple months. And if you want to stay up to date, we have a newsletter. Just put your email in, and then we'll make sure you know when the events are coming.
Yeah, I think it's amazing how you can tie all your hobbies like video gaming, for instance, into your business. And this is why, like, people are multi-dimensional, and we literally, anything that we do, we can incorporate within our business. But Eric, thank you so much for participating, man.
Absolutely, Alex.
I'm very excited about what Project Insulin has coming up, and I know you mentioned how people can get involved, and I know that it's going to be successful, man. So thank you so much for participating.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
It was an honor, man.
Yeah, appreciate it.